Hello, and welcome to another Cloud Podcast, a podcast designed to bring you stories from the smartest minds in IT, operations, and business, and learn how they're using cloud technology to improve business and the customer experience. So Cooper Johnson, man, good to have you on the show here. And it's been a hot minute since we've last hung out. And I know since that last time at one of our Sandler summits that you were at, you've had the pleasure of meeting Artie separately. And so from what I hear, you guys are cranking away, and it's just been a whirlwind ever since this COVID-19 hit us last year.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a whirlwind. And ironically, Artie and I just recently closed a pretty nice deal together in regards to headsets. I think just last week, right, Artie?
Yeah, just last week, and they got the headsets. I would say they already have the headsets, but it was within a couple of days. So they had a go live of end of March. They decided to pull the trigger, I think, beginning of March, and they got it, within a week and a half. And the IT guy was just sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm in the dark. I don't know if we ordered the headsets or not." And then Jennifer turns to him and says, they're in the storage room behind you. Like, we ordered them like a couple days ago. They already showed up. So great turnaround, great win. Awesome for the customer.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. Typically our standard ship time is usually 1 to 4 days. Really just depends on where the client is within the US. So based on what you just told me, it sounds like we got them there, and thumbs up for our win together.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, this customer was in Denver, and they had a huge snowstorm. And the person that I usually talk to, he said there was like a 3-foot snowbank in front of his office door, and he couldn't pull in and all that stuff. So you guys shipped and delivered through a snowstorm, and that's a pretty cool testament to your dedication and your company.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. And Alex, you're right. It has been a while since we've spoken face to face. I think it was possibly about 2 years ago or 2 Octobers ago, one of the two.
Just about. You guys came down to Huntington Beach, got to enjoy the good weather and the surf and sand. So it was, it was interesting when we first met, and we were actually introduced by a gentleman named Ivan Elias. And I thought, what a great business model to be so niche focused just on headsets. Having, worked with in IT and being a consultant and whatnot, we're here selling, contact center services, UCaaS, SD-WAN, internet. We kind of have like this big bag, but then it's like, you guys come in and it's just like, here's where we focus. It's a perfect little niche. And lo and behold, COVID hits, and I can imagine just what that was like with everyone going to work from home. Tell me a little bit about how that was for you guys, and how you handled the influx of business, and then what the challenges were that people were facing when they actually started jumping home.
Yeah, that's a great question. And since we're kind of rebounding off of COVID, when it originally hit, the influx of need for wired and wireless office headsets, USB specifically, was at an all-time high. And with us, we provide all the leading brands from Plantronics, Sennheiser, Discover, Yealink. So we have access to thousands and thousands of units. But right when COVID hit, shockingly, all those units disappeared. People were on national back orders. People were placing orders for hundreds, if not thousands of units at one time. So over the course of, let's say, March is when COVID really started to spike and people were heading home, I'd say easily 50,000 units went out of our warehouse of Sacramento within 2 weeks. Wow. 2 weeks, 50,000 units gone. And it progressed. It continued throughout the year. And some companies, organizations, truly brand loyal. They want to stick with Plantronics, and I don't blame them. I'm personally using a Plantronics right now. Great organization. They have great products. But at certain points, the Plantronics stock gone. You couldn't get wired, you couldn't get wireless. So some clients would have to budge on what they found to be, suitable for them, and just grab what they could. But nonetheless, what about you guys? Obviously, you're helping out certain clients. Did you see an influx in certain onboarding, or what did that look like?
I did. So I'll give you a little backstory of what happened while the pandemic was hitting. I was actually in Hawaii getting married. So March
Oh
11th
wow.
was when I got married. And while we were, I wouldn't call it a honeymoon, but we were still in Hawaii before we came back to our 9 to 5 jobs. That's when the world kind of started to shut down. That was March, I think, 14th, where we were getting texts from our coworkers and friends saying, "Hey, stay in Hawaii." Like, "Hey, oh, by the way, there's a toilet paper outage or like shortage and outage," and we're just like, "What are we going into?" So, we didn't have the luxury, myself and my wife, to be able to go back into the office and pick up our office equipment. So we literally had whatever we had brought to Hawaii, which was a power cord and a computer. So we were coming
Wow.
to a work from home environment where we literally had nothing. And the first thing we did on Amazon was buy computer monitors. I had to buy a physical desk. And thankfully, I had this USB headset, which is now probably 3 or 4 years outdated. But
Sure.
I had to go find it. It was like in the garage, dust it off, blow out plug it into the USB. Hopefully, it works with this computer. I don't think I've ever used. I think I replaced the computers 2 or 3 times before I even replaced this headset. So it turned from a kind of a luxury beforehand 2 or 3 years ago to a need to have. And you know,
100%.
and my story is very unique, but I think also the same things to be said about all of our customers that we support who have agents who had physical, maybe Cisco phones,
Correct.
and now they're moving to work from home. They had to migrate quickly to like a VPN or some sort of soft phone on their physical computer or device, and they want a USB headset because what we have found was, at least for our customers who have large BPOs in the Philippines or in third world countries where internet isn't as easily accessible in the home, it's hard to have two separate devices, so a computer
Hmm.
and a Cisco phone plugged
Sure.
in to Wi-Fi. It's easier to put all the Wi-Fi across and just use a soft phone on a computer, which
Correct.
means that you need some sort of headset to help with that. And then of course we've had the problems with everyone starting with just the earbud phone jack ones, and then the ones
Sure.
that you get with your iPhone, and then
Mhm.
there's background noise, and then there's configuration problems, and it's just not as trusty as a physical USB plug-in. So yeah, that's the kind of backstory that I have with the work from home and necessity for headsets.
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, that, one of the things that we see a lot is that I hardly even use the phone, even with my soft phone. It's mostly just Zoom calls, right? Like we're on right now. And it's almost like Zoom's become this, well, don't call me, just let's set up a Zoom call, because then you have this face
Oh
to
yeah.
face, right? And so there's no more need to even have that desk phone. And so what we're seeing is, like, we're working with a nonprofit right now, and they have 400 phones through Ring Central that they're paying rent for, and they
Sure.
called Ring Central. Was like, we don't need these phones. And so thankfully,
Correct.
like, Ring Central like did what was right, and they're like, don't worry about paying the phones. Just hold on to them. Don't send them back to us. We don't
Sure.
want them back right now. And everyone of their in their office is just working from working off the headsets and whatnot. And I think
Yeah.
for a lot of organizations, they could get by with the, hey, just forward the number to your cell phone or forward it somewhere, right? But I think
Yeah.
where it really becomes a sticking point is in the contact center, because you just can't you can't forward customer support calls to someone's
No.
cell phone. And so I
No,
think
that'd be a nightmare.
yeah, so some organizations are getting by. They're still on their Cisco, they're still on their Avaya, and it's working because they're not heavy phone users. Like, we work with
Correct.
architecture firms. They're not on the phone at all, hardly. Like, their outbound usage is nil, and they can get
Correct.
by with just Zoom. And so a lot of those companies are waiting to just get rid of the PBX when they can, but it's not urgent. I say in the
Yeah.
contact center, it's where it became really urgent.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with the both of you on that. And it's really disappointing that it took COVID for a lot of people to realize that they need to be focused on the future rather than just the now. And the reason why I state that is a lot of headset users, their equipment is 100% desk phone compatible.
Mhm.
So when COVID did strike, everyone is calling our organization. They're calling me directly, and they're saying, "Hey, Cooper, can my Plantronics headset CS540 can it work with the computer?" And unfortunately, I have to tell them that it's not going to be the best solution, or it's not compatible. So when you just spent, couple $100 on desk phones, $100+ on wired or wireless headsets, it's a shocker when you get told no, it's not going to be compatible. So typically for us, even before COVID, we like to speak with the clients to figure out what their current needs are, but also look at it in a sense of what could possibly come in the future. So
Yeah.
before COVID and now, we highly recommend clients getting a desk phone compatible headset plus a computer compatible headset, just for the fact that it will safeguard them now and in the future.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because I didn't even think about that. You spend a couple $100, somewhere, sometimes upwards of $300 for this nice
Correct.
Plantronics, headset that attaches to your Polycom phone. But then all of a sudden you go to this work from home and you have to go buy a whole nother headset, or do the AirPods, or just the wired ones. But
Correct.
are there any I'm not as familiar with headsets, but are there devices out there that can do both, like work with the phone and just unplug it and plug it into the mic jack on the computers?
Yes. So in regards to wireless headsets, that's going to hit the nail on the head to your question.
Hmm.
So in situations where there are clients using desk phones, let's say the VVX series through Poly, but then they also have a soft phone on their computer, there's wireless headsets that will connect into both seamlessly at the same time. So you don't have to touch any wires or unplug when you want to toggle between the two. There's actually buttons on top of one's charging base that you can simply touch to be on the desk phone, or you can untouch and then touch the other button to get on the PC. So you're able to
Yeah.
toggle seamlessly without, possibly wrecking something while trying to plug in, plug out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
really, like you said, it's a future proof type of solution, right? Where
100%.
are you going to be in 3 years and 5 years? And are people going to be working off the soft phones versus the desk phones, which I think
Exactly.
we know, everyone knows, like in technology, that this COVID has accelerated technology adoption, especially cloud adoption,
Sure.
astronomically. Like, and we even heard at our Sandler summit that there's a guest speaker there that wrote for the New York Times and has books and is a professor at NYU, and he was saying
Mhm.
COVID accelerated technology adoption by 10 years. I mean, look at what the e-commerce was doing, and now all of a sudden, e-commerce has just shot through the roof because everyone's just at home ordering off Amazon. I mean, Artie,
Yeah.
your line of work, I
Yep.
mean, gosh, the retail side at Textile, like how's
Yeah.
it been for you?
Retail is absolutely insane, especially anything having to do with supporting the work from home environment. We at Textile, we have a brand called Fabletics, which is
Mhm.
athleisure wear. I'm actually wearing it right now. Like I literally live in my Fabletics. It
Yep.
comes to my door. I like it. If it doesn't fit, I return it. It's that leisure wear that you have that you sit around the house.
Yeah.
Cooper, talking a little bit down the path, and we talked about hardware and having to replace hardware and potentially upgrade to these new headsets that
Yeah.
are enabling across soft phones and things like that. So what I had learned, because we worked on a deal recently, what I had learned, and I did not know this, was there's actually options. So talk to us a little bit about renting headsets or potentially rent to buy, and then also
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about um, trading up. So trading hardware like phones for credit towards new and improved headsets. So what do you guys do there?
Yeah. So when it comes to the options that we're going to have for the clients, there's a wide range. Like I said earlier, when it comes to the hardware, we have access to all the leading brands: Plantronics, Sennheiser, Discover, Yealink, Logitech. So we really like to narrow down the options. With most companies, they're typically just selling new. And like us, we actually have access to new and professional grade certified refurbished. So we like to give our clients two options. Some people are okay with spending $200, $300 on a wireless headset. However, if they're on a budget, they can look at our professional grade refurbished and save a couple hundred, get the same quality, get the same warranty. So it really just depends on the client that we're working with. But on top of that, some clients, just like with their phone service, they're on a month-to-month rental, or they're on a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year lease where they have the service side of their contract, or they're, leasing their desk phones. So some people want to lease their headsets as well. However, our headset rental compared to others on the market, actually, let me take that back. I know a lot of people are not renting headsets whatsoever. So that's definitely a niche of Headset Advisor.
Okay.
But when it comes to headsets being rented from us in general, there's no contract. It's a rental agreement that's month to month. So just like the situation we're in with COVID, we had clients renting before COVID, and they were renting desk phone compatible wireless headsets. And they called me when COVID occurred and they said, "Hey, Cooper, we're heading home. We're going straight to Softphones. We can't use these older headsets." Since they're not in a lease and there's no binding contract, we were able to return those current headsets, swap them out with a computer-based wireless, and then they're good to go. So in regards to purchasing, whether it's new, certified, or refurbished, we also have the rental option to meet anyone's needs and be flexible. Because at this current time, everyone's needs have to be flexible,
Yeah.
and we want to just give them that specifically.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, that offers the ultimate flexibility because everything's up in the air. They don't know if they're bringing back their full staff to the office, if it's going to be hybrid. And so to have something in the interim with the rental program makes a lot of sense. And especially when you look at the cost of, typically with the carriers like Ring Central's, Advantages, call it the
Sure.
Poly VVX 300, 400, you're paying anywhere from $4 to $8 a month for the rental. So essentially,
Correct.
if everyone's going soft phone, you take that hardware cost that you're going to spend on the phone anyway with the rental, and you just transfer that over to the rental of a headset then, right? I mean,
Yeah, 100%. And what's nice about this as well is, let's say we had a client that's renting 100 headsets. And let's say after a year, 2 years, or even a month of them renting the headsets, they can buy these out. They don't have to continue renting. They can buy out, they can swap out, they can reduce quantity. So realistically, they're not stuck with anything. So it's definitely something that a lot of clients have been taking advantage of, and it's been very successful. So I'm glad, I'm actually really happy that we have that offering. Very happy.
Yeah, and something to note is a lot of the contact centers that have seasonality, let's say they're retail, online e-commerce like textile, they may ramp up 400 agents in a 1 month span, but then in 4 months they may ramp back down 400 agents. So you've got, these potential customers who have warehouses of headsets literally collecting dust for 6 months out of the year, or even 8 or 9 months out of the year, and then they're used for a couple months and then they're gone again. Same with like huge training classes. I've always heard this is like the major problem is when you're growing hyper growth mode in the contact center, the one thing that you need the most is headsets that have the Y jacks that you could have two people listening and one person talking. And that if you don't have that, you can't train people, and you hire people and they
Correct.
just sit there and they can't be trained. So the ramp up time for those trainees takes a much longer if you don't even have the physical hardware. So the ability to rent these products is pretty amazing, and that's an option that I didn't even think about until I think it was like a month ago when we talked about that a little bit on this
Of
one
course.
project.
Of course. Yeah, I've seen the need for wide jacks increase substantially, because you're right. If you have a brand new hire come on, you're speaking with clients, you want to be able to hear what that client is potentially saying, so that when you're off the call, you can train them on how you should have possibly paused, how you should have responded. So wide jacks are readily available. We just truly need to figure out if it's going to be a desk phone connection or if it's going to be a computer-based connection. But nonetheless, we have it available for wireless and wired.
Very
Coop-
awesome.
Cooper, you mentioned earlier about essentially the supply chain issue, right? When COVID first hit
Correct.
and we couldn't get toilet paper, you couldn't find a bike for your kid's birthday. I mean, I remember like
Sure.
just couldn't find anything that was recreational and then
Sure.
also technology wise too. Has that been fixed? Has the production and supply chain caught up with all the demand? And how's that been recently?
Yes. Yeah, great question. So I'd say for most major suppliers such as Plantronics, Jabra, Sennheiser, After about 3 months of COVID, when everyone was heading home, when it was full effect, we were on a national back order with all the distribution centers. So you could be contacting the main players such as Jenny, ScanSource, just Ingram Micrum, a lot of the main players that hold stock for the larger corporations, and they would directly tell you that stock is not available. But the good thing about our company, Headset Advisor here in Sacramento, is that we do have our own warehouse where we actually held stock. So we would have stock of Plantronics, Discover, Sennheiser. So we weren't reaching out to the distribution centers looking for stock. We had it here right on hand. So just like Artie had mentioned with his client just last week, is we were able to help people during COVID and have these units shipped out within just a couple days and even get them to people's home location. So we were getting orders for, let's just say 100 users, but we were shipping to each individual home office rather than shipping it to a main, district office or headquarters and then have them disperse. We were dispersing for them. So essentially we became part of their team and we were able to assist fairly quick. But your original question, Alex, yeah, it was no joke. Just like the toilet paper, headsets, same exact thing. They were here one day and they were gone the following. So all-time high, to say the least.
So I have a question around noise canceling, and maybe this
Sure.
might get a little too technical here, but we'll kind of give it a shot. So
Sure.
what we have found is that a lot of the work from home agents have a lot of background noise. Surprise, surprise, right?
Sure.
Kids, dogs, even some of our workers in the Philippines, they live in a rural area where there's chickens outside and you could hear chickens crowing and
Sure.
roosters crowing. So with regards to headsets, are there headsets out there that have built-in noise canceling? Is it, top of the market? Will it really cancel pretty much everything around them except for maybe a small bubble around where their head is? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Are there ones out there? And if so, are those the ones that are going out of stock first, or are those the ones that are a little bit higher end, a little bit pricier, and there's a lot of backlog of it and you've got a lot of stock?
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to noise canceling office headsets, you are going to have options within the wireless realm, but also the wired. Now, there's two situations when it comes to noise canceling. One, there's noise canceling when it comes into what we hear when we're wearing headsets so that we can focus in on the client's conversation or exactly what they're saying. So that's noise cancellation for us to cancel out background noise within the office environment. However, like you mentioned, in certain areas, there's roosters, there's chickens, there's kids, there's dogs. It can get fairly loud. So what most people are looking for is a noise canceling microphone boom so that you're not getting background noise from the outside realm coming into your conversations like the crowing of the chickens. So when it comes to specific models, there's going to be products within the Plantronics line, the Discover line, and it really comes down to users' needs. And what I mean by that is, like, if it's noise cancellation of a crowing rooster or a dog, it might not be that they can't hear what's in their location. They just don't want their client to hear what's going on. So really narrowing down the client's needs based on their environment and what they personally need is critical, because I could get someone a single ear wireless headset, semi like what I'm using currently, because it might be good enough for their situation. However, it needs a better microphone boom, a better noise cancellation microphone boom. So to answer your question, it's very broad. It's hard to pinpoint one specific headset onto one specific needs. But to say the least, there are multiple noise canceling wired or wireless headsets for everyone's needs. We just have to narrow down that option. Now, your second question, Artie, was what units were selling the fastest, correct?
Yeah, are the noise canceling headsets, are they selling off the shelves, or are they still sitting up there and people just aren't aware of that technology?
Yes. So when COVID did strike and everything was moving quickly, every headset that was USB compatible was selling. It could have been a inexpected or an inexpensive wired headset or it could have been an expensive wireless headset with noise cancellation. Some clients really did not mind the price at the time. They just wanted a solution as quick as possible.
Mhm.
However, let's say pre-COVID, headsets are readily available. However, I'd say for contact centers, when there's 100 users, 200 users, even 300 users, most importantly for them is to find them a wired or wireless solution that does cover both ears, but truly does cancel out noise. A lot of time there's security purposes, or there's regulations within the offices and the clients where other clients can't hear other individuals' phone calls for confidentiality purposes. So noise cancellation headsets were still readily wanted and readily sold. So before COVID and after COVID, it's been an all-time high. So I don't see them going anywhere soon. They're going to be around for a very long time.
What's
Nice.
the range in price like for the noise canceling to
Yeah,
where there's a fit for everyone, but is there like the bottom line, like if you want noise canceling that's going to be good enough up to like the really
yeah.
expensive, like what kind of price range are they looking at?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for a wired USB office headset that gives you yourself noise cancellation for both ears covered, but also noise cancellation through the microphone boom, you're looking at about $70 to $100, give or take, $70 to $100. But in regards to wireless, you're looking from around 180 up to 300. It really just depends on the
Mhm.
product. But nonetheless, after speaking with the client, you're really able to narrow down what they're looking for, what their
Mhm.
price range is, and then who knows, purchase versus rental. So we're able to really get them exactly what they want.
When
And
Really quick, Artie. So when we
Yeah.
advise clients on contact center solutions or UCAS and
Yeah,
whatnot, there's always these gotchas with the carriers, right? Whether it's
sure.
fees, hidden fees they don't tell you about. What would you advise, people looking at headsets for say like 100 users or just in general, some of the gotchas that, oh man, I wish I would have known that before I spent $10,000 on all these headsets.
Sure. That's a good question, because we're not the type of company that does the gotcha, or hey, I have to tell you something. A lot of people undermine warranties when it comes to purchases. And what I mean by that is certain makes and models only come with a 1 year warranty, while other brands come with a 2 year, a 3 year. So a lot of the time, someone might break their headset, physically break it in half. And a lot of the time, certain providers only cover manufacturer defaults, such as
Mhm.
microphones not working properly or the headset's not charging properly, something along those lines. So sometimes clients come back and they're like, hey, my headset's broken in half. And then we have to inform them, well, you bought this product that's only covered by XYZ. But we like to inform people as best as possible of what the headset they're looking at, what warranties included, and what the warranty entails. So if that is categorized in a got you moment, I'd say that's the
Yeah.
only one that we have that's kind of at that level.
No, that's perfect. And a lot of times, we are on the same side, right? Whether it's contract end dates or auto renewals for contracts and whatnot, that just
Sure.
aren't readily talked about unless you let your clients know. And I'm sure through your evaluation and working with clients, you have a litany of questions to find out
Of
so you
course.
don't have those gotchas from the actual hardware side of things or from the manufacturer side. So it's always interesting to learn because there's, sometimes there's always those things where it's like, oh, I wish I would have asked that question as a
Sure.
client, but they just didn't know to ask it.
Yeah, there's definitely certain, if I can elaborate on that, with certain service providers, let's say Ring Central and let's say Log Me In, that used to be Jive. When individuals are using soft phones per se, certain clients, they want to have the capability with wireless headsets to wear the headset, get a phone call, answer the phone call directly from the headset top. It's called remote answering. And certain soft phones are not optimized for
Mm.
remote answering. So with Ring Central, if you're using Plantronics, such as the one that I'm using, I'm able to answer my phone call right when I get that phone call. But with other providers, if you have a soft phone that's not optimized, you have to touch your mouse and click the soft phone on your computer. So for a client standpoint, if you don't go through a thorough fact finder and figure out if that's exactly what they're needing, that could be a uh-oh moment for them, because then they're a little disappointed in the features that they were expecting to have.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an
that's a
uh-oh moment for me too. If I don't let the
yeah.
clients know that now, that's a good little nugget there, because I've never even thought about that as far as being a feature that someone might want.
Yeah, that's a really good call out. Also, for customers who are looking to maybe test out 2 or 3 or 4 different headsets in their
Yeah.
call center to figure out what's the best fit, maybe go through some user adoption testing. Do you guys provide proof of concept phases, or would you give them a selection of maybe 4 or 5 and say, we'll ship you, rent these 4 or 5, then when you're done with the month, just send them back and then choose which one you want to buy? Like, how does that work? How do you advise them or work with them during that proof of concept phase?
Yeah, great question. So we like to give our clients and potential clients the ability to test out the hardware that we're presenting. So after myself or one of our account executives goes through the thorough fact finder and the client is open to demoing the products, we simply send them out at no cost. All we need is the shipping address, the contact name, and the contact number. And we do ship them out for free. And typically, what we like to do for the highest success rate with clients is, before I ship out the demo, I usually get the individual who ultimately makes the decision for the products, for the location, into the email. But also, I like to have every single tester involved within the email as well. And the reason for that is, yes, it's a headset, it should be plug and play. However, that's not always the case. So we get headsets to people's location. We actually do Zoom meetings, or we do video meetings with each tester, either all at once or all individually, just so that we ensure that they're all on the headset, it's working properly, it's functioning how it's supposed to, and then the service provider's POC plus the headset meshes well together as one for a great success. So that's what we typically do. But to add on to that, let's say, for an example, the client doesn't like the demos and they do not want to keep those demos, we provide the prepaid shipping label and we have the headset shipped back at no cost. But if they want to keep them, perfect. We'll charge them for that headset, and then we can deploy the remaining amount they're needing. And we'll do the same thing. We'll do the installation with them. We'll walk them through how it's supposed to be used, but we're also readily available after the fact. So they can contact us Monday through Friday with any questions, phone call, email, text. It just gives a little bit more security for each user, because a lot of the time they don't know who to contact. They'll call their help desk, they'll call the actual manufacturer of the product. And at times, not to put shade on anyone, a lot of the times, even the manufacturer doesn't know how to do certain troubleshoots because they're not used to connecting it to Ring Central, Zoom, Log Me In, Vonage. There's so many different platforms now, but that's our expertise. So we know how to maneuver across each platform.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never heard of that proof of concept. And that really truly is the second part of your business name, which is advisor, which is amazing. A lot of your competitors will say, "Oh, you want to buy the headset? Then pay for it, and we'll ship it to you. And then if you
Of
don't want it,
course.
if it fits in the return policy, we'll take it back." But having that hands-on white glove experience, I think that's what we all need in the industry, and I love that from you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear. And we're not trying to be too confident, but we've gotten to a point now where we're actually offering a 110% money back guaranteed. So if the
Wow.
clients aren't happy, we're gonna bump it up an extra notch.
Yeah, and we had a podcast guest earlier. I think it was on the third episode with Graham, and he used to be a contact center agent for a very, very long time. And he said to us, the headset is the creature comfort of a contact center rep. Literally, they have that on 8 hours a day. There's only maybe 3 things in their physical world that they focus on that they need. That's really good. It's the headset, the computer, and the chair. Other than
Yeah.
that, like everything else could be going on wrong in the world. As long as they have those 3 things, they can do their job. So it's high value, and it's important to choose the right headset, but it's also important to collect the feedback from the agents or the people who are using the headset, whether that's
100%.
internally or passing that along to you guys, so that you guys have that for your information. It's really important to collect that. I did have a question. I know, Alex, you were going to jump in, but I did have a question.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about headsets, but what other products do you guys do? Do you guys do like hockey pucks or conference room phones that are USB or computer compatible or iPad compatible? What other products or services do you guys do beyond just headsets?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have the hockey puck speakerphones. We do have the large conference room speakerphones for analog and VoIP, because some people are still, a little bit behind in regards to their service. But then we also do desk phones. It's something that we don't typically do. However, some people are needing additional VVX desk phones, Link T-Series desk phones. And that's something we can help with. We just can't help with the service for those desk phones, but we can update firmware. We can do proper configurations. So in regards to headsets being our main focus, we do have other hardware. We just have to figure out the current situation of the client and see if we can plug in that other equipment where it makes sense.
Which is awesome, because Alex can help with all of the service behind those phones. So if you guys need help with that,
that's right. That's right.
Reach out to Alex.
Shameless plug. Well, hey, Cooper, I don't want you to get locked in your building, because I know you were saying earlier that you had a hard stop at Quarter Till. But man,
everyone's running out right now.
It's been great having you on, and I'm really glad we got a chance to just dive into the headsets. I know there's a lot of people out there that just don't understand what's going on in the market and don't understand the nuances of just buying a headset for their organization. So
of course,
absolutely glad to have you on, and we'll have to definitely do it again. And we can
happy to be here.
Do it all over again.
Absolutely. And before we go, for everyone who's listening, I absolutely love their marketing, their branding, not only the purple everywhere, but also if you ever email them, they have these like Bitmoji, like, little bit characters of themselves, which is absolutely hilarious and awesome. So email Cooper at headsetadvisor.com if you want to see that, and he'll gladly respond to your email. So yeah, keep it up. You guys are doing great. Cooper, thanks again for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Well, that wraps up the show for today. Thanks for joining, and don't forget to join us next week as we bring another guest in to talk about the trends around cloud contact center and customer experience. Also, you can find us at adleradvisors.com, LinkedIn, or your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next week on another Cloud Podcast.